Welcome to the podcast. My name is Anthea, and today I have with me a minister and also a pastor. He's none other than Reverend, I'm joking, Minister Yohan, who is also a pastor. He's here to join me and just have a conversation. So keep taps. Hello.
Hi,
How are you?
I am blessed, and yourself?
Wow. It's great to see you. I'm doing well. I'm doing very well.
Good to see you as
It's
well.
good to have you here.
I'm blessed to be here.
I've been thinking of getting you here for a very long time. So finally, you're in the hot seat.
I'm humbled to be here. It's a pleasure for me.
So we want to know who you are. Who is Minister Yohan?
Well, Yohan is a praise and worship leader. I would say I'm a prolific praise and worship leader and a pastor and a businessman.
Oh, wow. Businessman.
Yeah.
That's great. So, how's your journey been like? Where did you start from? Where did you grow up? What has been your background? You say you're a worship leader, which means you sing.
Yes.
You lead praise and worship.
Exactly.
So, in terms of that path, that journey, where have you come from? How did you end up?
Well, I'll say my music journey actually started from when I was young. I remember at the time I was in class 5, I was in a school choir.
Okay.
At Kuforidia St. Dominic's.
Class 5, that's like how old?
I should be somewhere 12 to 18 years.
Okay, you're already in the choir.
Yes, I was.
So you had discovered that you had a voice.
Oh yes.
Oh
yes.
Because it usually takes a while. I think that's probably around the same age I discovered that I could sing as well.
Yeah.
So how did you discover that? Is it from joining the choir or somebody told you that you can sing? Or?
I think I had a passion in me, and it wasn't just singing. I remember we used to fight over school drums. Oh yes, every time it's like I'm playing the bass drum and you are playing the side drum, and every time.
Oh, okay. So it was more about instruments.
Yes.
Not even singing at the time.
Not singing, not only singing, but I was also. I even started as a drummer. I think the singing actually came when I discovered that I have the gifts, as in to serve in the house of God. So I actually started as a drummer, and then later on, I became a singer.
Ah.
No, I even think that after being a drummer, I learned the piano. So singing was actually the last thing I did.
Okay.
Yes.
So but have you always been a charismatic person? Have you always been in a church scene? Because that's where obviously singing started for you, right?
Oh yes. So
you've always been a charismatic.
I was singing in my mother's church, the Church of God, and I'm the type that even at a young stage, when I go to church, I will never want to sit at where the congregation is. I will always want to be at where the instrumentalists are. And that was the passion. And from there, we've been singing. I remember when I was in the boarding house, I used to go and play for the churches around. I used to go and play keyboard. Sometimes they will come for me and I'll go and play and they will give me money.
Who taught you how to play?
Oh, I learned it, a friend of mine. The passion was there. My mother bought me a small keyboard.
Right, okay. So you used to practice
Yes, I used to practice it at a tender age.
Wow.
Yes. But like I said, since I had that passion in me, anything I start within a short time, then I'll be able to play.
Pick it because it was there, right?
It was there.
So it's sort of like driving you to want to learn it.
Yes.
And it makes it easier when the passion is already there.
I never struggled to learn any of the instruments. Any of the instruments that I want to learn is just easy for me to learn.
Wow.
Yes.
So you used to go around.
All I need to do is make time and to tell myself that, hey, I want to do this. I can even play the acoustic guitar as well.
How many instruments can you play?
That one, I even learned it on YouTube. That one, nobody taught me. I learned it on YouTube.
Wow.
I just got the guitar and...
You started learning.
And it just worked just like that.
Wow.
Yeah. You were asking a question?
No, I was going to ask you how
many instruments?
Yeah, how many instruments can you play?
I can play the organ, the drum, and the acoustic. So I would say 3.
Do you produce your own songs?
Yes, I produce my own songs, but I have a producer who actually do the mixing and the mastering.
Right, but you do the writing,
I do the writing.
Production.
Yes.
You basically hear the song and then you write? Or how do you... Because, writing is... For me, I would literally hear the melody and then write.
Yeah.
I don't know how it works for you.
Oh, yeah. Mine is the same. As a worship leader, there's a need for you to hear from God. So mine is basically the same. And sometimes too, in the middle of the night whilst I'm sleeping, I find myself singing, and I wake up with a song. And I realize that it's nobody else's song, so there's a need for me to get my phone
And
and
record
record
it.
quickly. Because within 15 minutes or 10 minutes, if I don't record and it goes, that's all.
Oh.
I'll never remember it.
Wow.
Yes. So sometimes when you are driving, sometimes I get to hear from God when I'm driving. So I don't like playing music when I'm driving. Because at the
Right.
time, I really hear from God speaking
Wow.
to me.
So basically, you sang at your mother's church for how long?
Oh, I served over there throughout, I would say, JSS and secondary school. I was in the boarding house, so when I come home too, then I'll serve.
you serve.
Sometimes though, I used to run away and I'll come and play and I'll go.
Right.
My zeal for ministry was very high. I was the type that I can actually look at the timetable and say, this teacher is coming, I have to run away.
So you bank school just to go?
Oh yes, I'll go to a prayer camp, go to a prayer meeting around the school, and I'll go and play and get something small in my pocket.
Oh, were you playing for money?
No,
Or were you playing for the passion?
around that time, the zeal was there. But you see, once you avail yourself, at least they will
give you something.
They'll give you something, and it was helping.
And as a child, I guess getting a little money too make you more excited to want to keep going.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, it was.
What an interesting childhood.
It was.
Right.
You see, for me, anybody who knew me from childhood could tell that I will eventually be in the ministry and I will eventually become a pastor.
Oh.
Because I remember when I was growing up, my senior sister asked me that, what do I want to be in future? And I told him I want to be a pastor. Do you know what he told me? Do you know what she told me? She told me that I should rather say I want to be a doctor or a lawyer, because to be a pastor is not a profession.
But is being a pastor a profession?
So I'm coming. So years back, we grew up and my sister built a house. She needed a pastor to go and dedicate the house.
Okay.
In as much as she's a Catholic, she didn't go for the Roman father to go and dedicate the house.
She came for
She
you.
remembered that there's a pastor in the family. So she called me and said, please, Pastor Yohan, can you come and dedicate my house for me? And I went and I prayed for her. Then I remembered that this is the same sister who told me that
it's not a profession.
to be a pastor is not a profession.
But I think going into that topic is a whole different subject.
Yes.
Because I asked you, being a pastor, is it a profession? But obviously...
For me, I think it should be a calling than needs being a profession. I don't think... Today we have comedians who can come on radio or on TV and tell you that I've been to the Bible school, I can quote the scriptures. But I think that for you to be a pastor, there's a need for you to have the calling of God. Because the ministry itself is a place where there's a need for you to be called, because your assignment is to serve the people. So if God doesn't call you, there's no way you can serve.
Right. So on that note of calling, how would one know that they have a calling?
For me, I think that in order for you to know that you have a calling, first of all, there's a need for you to be born again.
Okay.
Anybody who can boast of knowing God or having an encounter with God should be able to, first of all, be born again. One of the things that happens when you are being born again is your spirit comes alive and you begin to walk in line with the Spirit of God. So for somebody to be able to sense, or for somebody to be able to say he's a pastor, you will have it within you. The Spirit of the Lord will be able to caution you or quicken your mortal bodies. You understand? Because God is a spirit. And you can't just say you are a pastor.
So it's not just a case of getting up and saying, oh, I feel like being a pastor, so I'm going to be a pastor.
No, it doesn't work like that.
It's bigger than that.
It doesn't, because this journey, there is no, my pastor will tell you that this journey, we don't retire.
Right.
You don't go for retirement. You are going to go until God calls you.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
It's a lifetime thing.
Yes, it doesn't matter the obstacles on the way. Once you take the charge that you want to serve God or you want to be a pastor, there is no turning back. So I don't encourage people to see it as a profession, but they must first of all sense God. It's just like leading worship. You can't just rise up and say, I'm a minister or I'm a pastor, or, because your mandate is to is to lead the people to God,
Right.
and also to bring God down.
Right.
You have the mandate. You must have the mandate from God before you are even appointed by leadership or authorities.
Okay.
Yes, so that's how it works. It doesn't just, it's not about you just having a talent or you just being able to preach. So you say, I'm a pastor or I'm a minister. It doesn't work like that.
Right, okay. So as a young guy, you discover that you can sing, you have the passion to want to do the work of God. You even run away from school to go and play instruments and things like that. So it's clear that is there. But how has the journey been like? Has it been smooth, or have you faced challenges? Because I know that coming into that space and looking for acceptance can be very, very difficult.
Exactly.
When one has the drive to want to be in there. There are people already there doing what you want to do.
Yeah.
Then you come in the scene and say, give me way. Let me come and also showcase myself. How has that been like?
Okay, I would say that the journey has never been smooth, but once you understand that you have a calling, there's a need for you to run your own race.
Okay.
You see, I always believe that when God calls you, God will give you a message. Anybody God calls, God has to give the person a message.
Right.
And there are people that your ministry will attract to.
Right.
And those people will be there to support you. And one of the struggles we go through nowadays is for the fact that we are in the church, everybody is enjoying your gift, but sometimes we are singing and we don't have anything even in our pocket.
Right.
One of the major struggles we've had, and if I want to speak for my colleagues, and they will always tell you that we always have a financial struggle, because we have a generation that everybody know you are anointed, you are talented. They come to church, you make them happy and excited, but nobody will walk to you.
Nobody's thinking about you.
Yes, sometimes I go to church. Me, for instance, anytime I finish ministering, all my dress gets wet. So every time I have to change my clothes and all that, and it's money. And sometimes you are even singing without money in your pocket. And your mandate is to make the people, you need to reflect Jesus to them. You need to let them have an encounter. So once you get to the church, the Bible says we should enter into his gate with thanksgiving. So you have that thing at the back of your mind. So you let go of whatever you are going through and you avail yourself, and everybody come to church and they are excited. But sometimes we are even singing without 20 CDs or 10 CDs in our pocket. And it's the reason why these days most of my colleagues are branding themselves, because we've realized that if I am doing so well in church and it is only, let's say, the pastor that blesses me at the end of the month, and sometimes even what they give us is not enough, because we are growing, we have families, we have kids, we have bills to pay. So if your pastor give you a certain amount and it's not okay, what do? You
just have to take it.
Those times in the olden days, in the day of David, there were Levites who were being chosen and they were being exempted from other responsibilities. And their duty was just to serve God, just to praise and worship God. And that was their duty in the days of David. When you read 1 Chronicles chapter 9, verse 33, you find it there. But what happened in this generation? We live in a generation whereby if you're a worship leader and you are indoors every time waiting on God, people think you are lazy.
That's another aspect of.
Yes.
That's another way of looking at it. You've just said something that's really making me think now. Because it looks like amongst all this, you still have to keep a brave face, because you're carrying the people to the presence of God.
Yes.
And so it's clear that the congregation don't understand that these people may be going through something and may need even a pat on the shoulder or something at the end of their service. Is it lonely? Is it a lonely journey?
It is. It is, and I would like to encourage our people, our church folks, to try and support some of us, because what we do is something that there's a need for us to be able to even separate ourselves from the crowd so that we can actually hear from God. You see, yesterday something happened in church. As a worship leader, every song that come, it is your duty to learn the song.
Right.
You understand? And some of the songs have about 5 lyrics or 3 lyrics, 3 verses, sorry. And you have to learn verse 1, verse 2, verse 3. Yes,
that in itself is work.
That's work, because how can there's a need for you to know all the current songs, all the trending songs.
Keep up to date and all of that.
You understand, and update yourself, and you have to be in the room. That one is not just you being anointed. You have to sit down and learn.
But then one may argue, because there are other people who are in the ministry who do music and all of that and still have a job going on. A business. I mean, I heard you say you're a businessman.
Yeah, there is a need. It depends. For instance, it depends on where you are serving. There are some churches that they can actually pay well.
So it requires you to be full-time?
Yes, you understand. But if you are serving a church where, let's say, the church is now coming up, there's no way.
Dedicate yourself.
You understand? There's no way they can really meet all your needs, and it becomes a challenge. And there are churches that they will always try to talk to you that we are building, we are doing this, so let's manage when the church get to a certain level, And the same church will get to a certain level and they'll forget you that started with them, you that, you've been with them. And when the church get to a certain level, they will bring the current or the most trending musician in there, and they will think that you are a local champion. And it's something that I think that I've been there, and I feel that is not the best. Let's try and acknowledge what we have. Let's try and support the people that actually help the church, because the singing ministry is really helping the church.
It's intense.
Yes.
Yeah.
We cannot have an encounter.
The church cannot go on without music. Music, I think, makes up maybe 70 to 80% of the service. Will you agree?
Oh yes, and you know that most of our pastors see singing as see the singing ministry as a singing unit, as to the point that people feel like, okay, when you are singing just we are singing to wait for people to come to church. So when the church is full, then we stop singing.
What do you mean by that? I'm a bit confused.
No, there are times that it's going on in the church.
Explain properly, because
what I mean is, sometimes we see singing as a mere thing that sometimes we are even singing just to beat time.
Right. Okay. So it just keeps going on.
Yes.
Waiting for the
just to beat time. Waiting for latecomers to arrive.
Right.
That is wrong. The singing ministry shouldn't be seen as that. I think that we should see God in it, and the presence of God, the Spirit of God should be some. It's a sensitive something that you cannot just see a praise and worship leader or a singer as a mere person.
Right.
There's a need for us to put value on every worship leader.
So do you think the value at the moment is just on the pastor, and music ministers are not being taken, as serious? Should music ministers be taken as serious as pastors are taken?
Yes, I
they
believe
should be
so.
on the same level?
Not necessarily on the same level, but I feel that there's a need for us to place value on them in order for them to stay focused. So that, because you see, if I'm to serve and to serve faithfully, at least even every preaching that my pastor does, I should be able to talk to him and ask him that, Papa, what are you preaching today?
So that you can prepare your songs.
You understand? Mm-hmm. And we have to work together as a team. So
then, for me, it sounds to me like it should be equally as important. Music and the preaching it sounds to me like something that should be equal. One shouldn't be above the other, but unfortunately.
Oh,
it's not going like that.
For me, I think that there's a need to know that you are working under leadership. Mm-hmm. Once you are not having your own branch, there are times that you even feel like but still you are under someone.
Definitely.
So there's a need for you to surrender and there's a need for you to comply with whatever they tell you to do. But I think that we should place a value on music, on the music ministry and the minister as well.
I'm taking you back to something you said earlier on. You mentioned the fact that now your colleagues are having to brand themselves due to the fact that some of these things are not in place. They're coming into the service, they are giving all that they can, and they are going back empty pockets and all of that. The branding, can you explain to me what the branding is about?
Well, first of all, branding, I would say there's a need for you to have a team you work with. And sometimes, even before you can get in contact with them, you have to go through management.
Right. So does the branding have anything to do with money? Making more money
Of course,
for yourself?
it has to. It's a matter of repackaging yourself.
That's what
And
they call it, packaging now.
oh yes, and and also trying to upgrade yourself,
Okay.
the way you dress,
Hey.
because
So now it becomes showbiz.
it is.
Oh, showbiz.
It's part of it, but it's not supposed to be. But that's a reality. It's not. Once you
That's the
begin,
reality?
that's a reality. Once you begin to release a song, or let's say you have an EP or you have an album coming out, you are doing business. Yes, because you are selling, and anything you sell, there's a need for you to package it well.
So then the aspect of the worship leadership and the mandate gets separated then,
It depends.
if I'm not getting you wrong. Because now, from a worship leader who has a mandate to lead the people to the presence of God and also to bring the presence of God down, has moved on to repackaging themselves to be seen as a certain individual in order to make more money. So it's now business, it's now showbiz.
It looks like it.
So that's it's no more about the mandate.
And it is so because the people has made it so. Because the same person singing Dana say, people don't take him serious. When he go and brand himself and go to the studio, he pays. Before the song is being released, he pays. Before the song is being played on radio, on TV, he pays. So if you are going to call the same person to come and sing the
They'll
same
charge you.
Dana, there's a need for you to go through management. And
So-
that's where
So are the people putting that? Will you say that is the people that are putting pressure?
I think so, because I feel there are some praise and worship leaders that are called for local churches, their own local churches. They are not
Okay.
supposed to go out,
Okay.
And there are people, once you bring a song out, I believe you become a national asset. People will come for you. You understand? And there are times that the program that you are going is being ticketed. People are paying tickets to, for
Come
you to
and
come
listen
and
to
so
you.
you cannot just go without getting
Looking
money.
good and all of
Yes,
that.
you
And all
understand?
that comes with money.
Yeah. But I think that in as much as we have a mandate, if the people can take very good care of us, there's no need for my colleagues to say, I'm charging this amount before I'm coming.
My fear, my fear is that once that comes in, there becomes that very thin line between losing the focus on the mandate and now becoming full-time entertainment, showbiz kind of person rather than, if this the whole thing is about worship, then it can be very scary when one has to now step away from the focus of why they even came there in the first place to now go into branding and showbiz and all of that. Don't you think it's a bit worrying?
that is what I'm saying. If the leadership of the church and even our church folks can actually try and support some of us, because let me say, for instance, you are in the same church. Let's say you're a music director. The same song you are singing every day, somebody is coming next week Sunday and coming to do that same song and collect some huge sum of money and go.
Right.
And that's the same song you are singing as a music director. How much are you paid?
So the competition is there. People are
You
now
understand?
starting to get.
So if you feel you have it, then
Competitive.
there's a need for you to also upgrade.
So maybe the churches need to look at it from this way. You pick your own talent, you groom it, you invest in them, you brand them,
Yes,
and then showcase them.
exactly.
They can do things outside and also be used in-house, like Sinash and
Yeah.
they came
Yeah.
from Pastor Chris grooming
Yes.
them, and then I mean,
Exactly.
are you talking about something like that?
Something like that. If we can have our own people that we can groom them, I think is the best thing to do. You understand? These days, everybody, I won't mention any name in Ghana, but everybody is rushing for a particular person, all because the person decided that, hey, I'm going to do my own ministry. You understand?
Yeah,
I'm not going to be just limited to one particular
of
church.
course, of course.
And it was a risk for the person. And do you know that I've realized that those who are making waves now, they have taken the risk to do their own ministry, and they are
Right,
doing so well.
right, right,
But when you
right.
are stick to one church, it's like you are limited.
So,
Do you know that there are times that even when you get a program and you are going, your pastor will get angry. When your
because
pastor sees you on a certain
platforms,
platform, certain, your pastor will query you.
it's possible, yes.
And these are challenges. So I believe that once, as pastors or as leadership, once we realize that this person is a national asset, there's a need for us to push the person. Because there are people that, some of us, it doesn't matter whether it tarries, we will still get to where we are supposed to get, because we are
Right.
national asset. We sing songs that we sing generational songs. You understand? And you can't do anything about it. So when we have such people in our churches, let's push them. But if we want to keep them in the church, it becomes a problem.
Do you think that sometimes music ministers are taken advantage of by the pastors
Oh yes.
because they feel that, oh, this person is a member of this church, and regardless, they're going to be here anyway. This
Yes.
is what they do. They lead the praise and worship. They like the crowd. They like being seen.
Yeah.
They like the platform. So I'm doing them a favor as much as they are helping the church. So therefore, they're not really a priority to me.
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah, it's going on. And I
Have you
think
witnessed some yourself?
I've been a victim before.
A victim.
Yes, I've been a victim. You know me, I've served in so many churches, and I'm still serving.
Right.
And I'll continue to serve.
Right.
One day my head pastor called me and said, it's time for you to get a branch. I told him, no, Papa, I still want to serve.
Okay.
You understand?
You
But
have your reasons.
I feel that we should be able to place value on worship leaders, because it's an office that requires you to separate yourself. It demands time, and once a person goes through that, there's a need for us to support them.
Definitely. But you've been taken advantage of, your victim, yet you're still there, yet you're still serving. What is keeping you there?
Oh, anywhere that I saw myself being taken advantage, with time,
You moved on.
yes, I moved on. Yeah, but I moved without trying to cause confusion. No, I believe that there's a place, even in the Bible, there was a place God placed Adam. One day, God came into the garden and was asking Adam, "Where are you?" Because God was expecting him to meet him at a certain place.
Right.
So I believe that this whole thing is a journey, and we will continue to serve until the Master calls us. Yeah.
Let me ask you about worship.
Okay.
How important is it to lead? When you're leading, what's going through your mind? What is worship to you?
Okay. I think that worship is not singing.
Okay.
A lot of people think that once I have a good voice, I'm
And I
qualified to
can
be
sing.
a minister, or to lead
Yeah.
worship. No, worship is not singing. Worship
Okay.
goes beyond singing.
Okay.
And worship is not the act, ACT,
Okay.
or the art, ART.
Right.
But worship is a heart affair.
Okay.
Worship is anything you do directly towards God with a heart of love, a heart of respect.
So it has nothing to necessarily do with singing.
No, singing is an expression of worship.
Okay.
You
Or an
understand?
expression of our love or our
Yes,
gratitude towards God.
exactly. But worship is not just limited to singing. Worship is spiritual. And worship is not
Communication.
yes,
Communion.
having an intimacy with the Father. And it's not something that is done on a Sunday morning.
Aha.
Yes, worship is a daily affair. The man after God's own heart said, 7 times a day will I seek you because of your righteousness and your judgment. So I feel that worship is a moment where we prioritize everything on God. We want to have intimacy.
So it can be a moment of prayer, it can be a moment of singing,
Yes.
it can be a moment of waiting.
Yes, waiting on the
fasting.
Lord, fasting.
Someone even once said to me, the fact that I get up, get ready, and I go to church is worship.
No.
I don't know if you agree with that, but that's what
No, I don't
that's
agree.
what the person said.
It can be a ritual.
It can be,
It can be
but
a
I think
ritual.
it also depends on how you as an individual sees it.
And let me state this: worship is not a ritual. When I say worship is not a ritual, what I mean is worship is not an activity we perform, and it's not an event that takes place.
Right.
So like what the person was saying, the moment I wake up and I go to church, then it means.
No, but then I believe as an individual, it depends on how they see it. You know, it depends on.
So it means that anytime you worship without understanding.
Yes. So that's the word. That's the key word.
Yes.
Doing it with understanding.
It becomes a ritual.
Right. Right. So I think,
So there's a need for you to know
what you're doing.
Who you are worshiping and why you are worshiping. It's very, very important.
Right.
If you are worshiping because your mommy asked you to worship, then you're not worshiping.
Right. But you're worshiping because you know.
You know.
And you're convinced.
Yes.
That this is the person you want to relate with.
I define worship as connecting your body, soul, and spirit back to your source.
Definitely, I agree with that.
And your source is who Jesus.
Yes.
You understand? So it's a moment where you want to reflect upon the goodness of God, the faithfulness of God, the greatness of God, and you want to surrender your life to Him and Him alone. The Bible says He shares His glory with no other man. One day Jesus said to the disciples that, have you seen these people making unnecessary noise? They are making noise. They feel they are worshiping me, but their heart is far from me. They are worshiping me with their lips, but their heart. So worship is all about the heart.
Excellent.
One day in the Bible, Psalm 24, the Bible says, who shall ascend to the hill of the Lord, and who shall stand in His holy place? He that had a clean hands and a pure heart, who had not lifted up his soul unto vanity, nor sworn deceitfully. So I was making a research and I realized that even for you to be able to stand well and worship God, there's a requirement.
Right.
There's a need for you to have a clean heart and a pure hands and a clean heart. That should be your requirement. There's a need for you to be born again. That is when you can say that you are worshiping God.
Definitely.
It's not a matter of making on that. The area that I'm staying, there's a woman there. She's always making noise. And, sometimes the people in the area, they get angry. She's always making noise like she's the only Christian in the area. That is not worship.
When should we look forward to the church? Your church.
Oh, Jesus.
Pastor Yohan. You were ordained, right?
Yes.
How many years ago?
It's been 2 years now.
Okay, so it's very needful to call you pastor.
Yeah, I'm already preaching, so...
So how soon should we be looking out for the church and all that?
As God leads us.
As God leads you.
Yes.
Right,
yes,
okay. I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, yes, and you come and be the church mother.
Hey. Big responsibility.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
And I want to say thank you to you because you've been a pillar in my life. I remember way back, somewhere 2010, 2011, I used to come to you and you used to give me some voice tutorials and all that.
Yes,
you have been a mentor and you are still a good woman. I thank God for your life. I appreciate it. It's a joy. It's a joy.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to hear that.
It's a pleasure.
And I'm happy to see you here, and I hope to see you keep going and going.
Amen.
Until one day you invite me to your church.
Oh, yes.
To come and lead worship with you.
And I have a song coming out very soon. So once it's ready, that song, I'll make sure that you'll be in the video.
Hey, okay.
Yeah, I'm hosting you.
What's the title?
I don't want to.
You don't want to give too much
for the sake of the internet.
Okay, so we keep that in suspense and we'll let that out soon. Thank you for coming.
It's a pleasure.
God bless you. And I hope to see you again soon.
I'll see you
And
too.
thank you for watching. And I hope to join you again very soon.